Buried treasure, money tips from a dead billionaire. Now, have you ever wondered, can any ordinary person become rich? Well, let's take the life of Sir John Templeton. For an example, this guy grew up modestly in Tennessee. He lived to age 95. He created the Templeton Prize, which is kind of like the Nobel Peace Prize. And he's a Tennessean. He got knighted by the Queen. He lived in the Bahamas, a thoroughly decent and ethical guy. Now, he wrote this book, The Templeton Plan, 21 Steps to Personal Success and Real Happiness. Now, he died a billionaire, but much of his money was given away through his foundation and that Templeton Prize. But let's see what buried treasures of wisdom and money tips Sir John would have for us today. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a bonus, step 21 from his Templeton plan that I think you'll really like. Now, sometimes we spend too much time and actions remembering and agonizing about what did not work. The missed decisions, the bad advice, the inactions, the actions not taken, the I should-haves. The rush pressures that many have even resulted in losses and possible rip-offs, or worse, outright fraud. Now, I have personally longed for, over the years, like a personal finance coach or mentor. I went into the CFP profession even with that idea, and there are many great ones that I know. But dead billionaires can serve that purpose as well, if listened to. Now, you're watching What's Next with Money, a program with smart insights to guide your financial decisions. We're talking about buried treasure, money tips from a dead billionaire, Sir John Templeton. Now, not Sir Elton John, who a few years ago got in credit card and debt problems, but you know he's talented and he had a huge flow of music royalties, so he's in good shape now. But here's the first from Sir John Templeton. Invest for real returns. He says the true objective for any long-term investor is to maximize total return after taxes. Now, total return can include capital gains, the appreciation of a stock or an asset, dividends, and even interest. Next, keep an open mind. Try to stay flexible, open-minded, and skeptical. For long-term top results, Sir John says, consider changing from popular to unpopular investments and vary your method of selection. Now, Templeton did this as a noted money manager and mutual fund leader and pioneer. Now, being a contrarian, but open to seeking value, not paying at bid-up or high prices. Next, never follow the crowd. Templeton says if you buy the same investment as others at the same time, you're going to get the same results. To buy when others are selling and to sell when others are buying greedily requires the greatest fortitude and pays the greatest reward. Now, our friend Warren Buffett says, and he became rich because he says other people are doing stupid things. But his great quote is, one of his many, be greedy when others are fearful, be fearful when others are greedy. Next, Sir John says everything changes. Bear and bull markets have always been temporary. So, and these are my words, we want to let our winners, our holdings that are really well researched and are doing well, we want to let them run. We can't time the market, but rather have time in the market, buying in increments. If you'd like to see more videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe and that like button, and don't forget to share. Next, avoid the popular. If one method of stock selection becomes unreasonably popular, and this does happen, switch to another one. Too many investors can spoil any share selection method or any market timing formula. Now, you know, we at What's Next with Money and Sir John Templeton don't recommend market timing. It's not easy. And I'm really talking about avoiding fads of different types of stock selection, or certainly overly complicated methods or unique theses of investing. Next, learn from mistakes. This time is different are among the costliest 4 words in market history. Now, I recently found a very complicated word that may provide some perspective on this. Seculum. It's the unit of time between when a major event has happened and when the last living person who experienced it has died. Now, we can go back to think about World War II. We're losing all these greatest generation people. But are we destined sometimes, or some leaders, to forget the lessons of it? We've gone through, as a nation, as a world, assassination, wars, technology changes. Ukraine and Russia are now fighting with drones, market and economic crisis. We must constantly weather events. So my point is, no, this time is not different. Mark Twain said, history never repeats itself, but it does often rhyme. And if we're heeding the phrase, this time is different, only to find ourselves in a market crash or a money loss, we're realizing, no, this time is not different, because these cycles do happen. And I've been through several of these market events and shared the lessons that I've learned and the learnings of other great investors with you. Now back to Sir John. His next one is buy during times of pessimism. Bull markets are born on pessimism. They grow on skepticism. They mature on optimism, and they die on euphoria. The time of maximum pessimism is the best time to buy. And the time of maximum optimism is perhaps the best time to sell if you need to sell. Again, we want to let our winners run and hold long term. But often we don't know when this is, so regular investing is warranted. Dollar cost averaging, money to your 401k, 403b, IRAs on a regular, at least monthly basis. And you can ride out and benefit from these cycles, these ups and downs. Now, Templeton bought aggressively and selectively during the Great Depression. Remember, this is an older guy. And I have kind of a story for me that's a little like what Templeton did. And I think I took some inspiration from his notable buying during the Great Depression. And this kind of made him as a great investor. Now, recently, during the short-lived COVID crash, the spring of 2020, this became a time of maximum pessimism in the markets. We didn't know what was going to happen. Businesses were shutting down, and the markets reflected that. What I had done, I cashed out some CDs to free up cash that I already had in an IRA. CDs that I had just bought through the Schwab marketplace. And then with those CDs cashed in and that IRA money sitting around, I bought a lot of stocks and some mutual funds during this COVID crash. I had a buy list of bargains, and I did some extra research. And bargains appeared, and appeared they did. Templeton's next principle is hunt for value and bargains. He says more profit is made by focusing on value versus outlook and trends. Outlook and trends often come from pundits, people that are in financial journalism, and they're analysts. They do not know you, me, our time horizons, or our appetite for risk. In the stock market, the only way to get a bargain is to buy what most investors are selling. Now, I like to keep a list and some target prices, some entry points for buying stocks or additional holdings of companies that I already have or ones I want to get into. And these would be holdings that I would feel really good about holding for at least a 3 to 5 year period or longer term. Again, tied to goals and time horizons. This could be retirement, charity, kids' education, rental real estate, down payment for a house, etc. Here's another one from Sir John, search worldwide. Now, he says avoid having all your eggs in the wrong basket at the wrong time. This is just a principle of diversification. But beyond this, searching worldwide is meaning don't confine to one nation. But remember, many great U.S. companies, if you buy in those, give us global exposure because they're multinational companies and global brands. Templeton had an early and revolutionary global view of the markets and was a pioneer in international and global investing. Now, personally, over time, as my portfolio grew from basic index funds and just a few stock holdings, I always had some allocation to international and global assets. Next, no one knows everything. Now, an investor who has all the answers doesn't even understand the questions. Now, on this What's Next with Money channel, we're pretty unique here as we talk to you, our community of nexters, as we call each other. I bring ideas about money from tech, art, film, sports, military, diplomacy, public policy. I make analogies to these areas: faith, culture, business, history, and future trends. Now, William Goldman, who wrote the book Adventures in the Screen Trade, A Personal View of Hollywood and Screenwriting, is a classic for about nobody knows anything. Nobody knows anything, Goldman says. Not one person in the entire motion picture field knows for a certainty what's going to work. Every time out, it's a guess. And if you're lucky, an educated one. And then there's a famous book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street. And this is the idea that diversification happens, stock selection can be varied. There is a lot of randomness. People don't know everything. And then a great book by Professor Jeremy Siegel of the Wharton School is this, Stocks for the Long Run. And as John Bogle of Vanguard said, commit to saving and investing. Sid Bass, multi-billionaire investor, and he was an investor in the reform of the Disney Corporation in the 80s and 90s. He had an investing rule. He says, I wouldn't buy any shares of a company unless I would be happy owning all the shares. So this is thinking like an owner. Our What's Next with Money Investing for Ownership playlist has videos backing this up. Now here is the much anticipated bonus step 21 from the Templeton plan. Very short, but pithy, good principles. Templeton says, and this applies to life and investing, be a problem solver. Become an expert. Look for career solutions. If you've got a problem, pray for guidance. And money is never an end, but a means to an end. And as he did, use material gains in ways that will help others. So check out these videos. Invest in what you know and the secrets of successful wealth building. Now, although folks who die are often quiet, but many leave ideas and breadcrumbs of wisdom like buried treasure, money tips from a dead billionaire. So be sure to hit that subscribe and like button, and don't forget to share. I'm Brent Neiser, looking to see you next time on What's Next with Money.